Hey, good morning. Welcome into Acadiana's Morning News. This is Joe Cunningham, Jamie Angel joining us here this morning. How are you?
I am well, Joe. Hello, Jamie.
Good morning.
So, first of all, before we get started, happy Mardi Gras, and I hope that...
And to you.
I know that being a senator from Louisiana, you are very experienced in cities that are that live in excess, full of sin and debauchery. But enough about Washington D.C. How are things going in the Capitol? I know that things are very busy right now.
Well, it's pretty much a knife fight every day. Washington D.C. is not really a normal place. Normal up here is a setting on the dryer. You've heard the expression the Washington D.C. bubble. Mm-hmm. That's a cliche, but cliches become cliches because they're true. It really is a different place that's not exactly attuned to the rest of America. But we're working hard. We've got a reconciliation bill on the floor. The president's going to speak to us tonight. There's a lot going on, as you know, in terms of immigration and foreign policy. So it's not dull.
Well, and one of the things that doesn't seem like it's going to be dull, you mentioned the president speaking tonight, and I'm seeing the report in Axios and elsewhere that Democrats are planning on making fools of themselves during this with noisemakers. Apparently, they feel like holding up eggs during Trump's speech is going to be some great insult to the president. I'm not exactly sure, given that the egg price hike came because of regulations under the Biden administration that called for culling of chickens when they got bird flu. So I'm not exactly sure what your colleagues across the aisle are hoping to accomplish tonight.
Well, my Democratic colleagues are in a quandary. There are some Democrats who would like to end their cultural and economic radicalism. Mm-hmm. And they want to reconnect with ordinary Americans. But the Wokerati, the woke wing of the party, the moon wing of the party, still controls the party. And they won't let the minority of the more rational Democrats stop all the nonsense. And when they talk about it, they meaning the more rational Democrats, the moon wing of the party threatens to do to them what they did to Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema. So, I mean, look at the Democrats' position on wasteful spending. Mm-hmm. I call it spending porn. Mm-hmm. No fair-minded American doesn't believe that there's waste in the federal budget. There's an enormous amount of waste in it. And President Trump and Mr. Musk and others are finding that waste. And many of the Democrats are mad at the people who found billions of dollars of wasted money, but they aren't mad at the people who wasted it. And the American people see that.
You know, and the talk about spending is nothing new for you. You've been talking about this since you were a state treasurer here in Louisiana, and you were at that time going through again, finding all sorts of things in state spending that we didn't need to be wasting money on. There were cuts that could be made to decrease our own state spending. And now same thing in Washington, D.C., and you've got Elon Musk, you've got Doge, and they're coming up with areas that could really use cuts. And it seems like every time you try to cut the federal budget, the Democrats act as though you're cutting them directly.
Well, in many cases we are. Look, it's not just about the spending porn, the wasted money. Now, it's important to eliminate that as a moral principle. But this is one of the ways we're going to reduce prices. We had inflation, and we have the high prices because President Biden and my Democratic colleagues spent so much money that we didn't have, borrowed it, and that, of course, stimulated the economy, which resulted rather in high prices. By reducing spending, you have less demand in the economy, which will lower prices. Mm-hmm. We're also going to try to lower prices, and I think we'll succeed through deregulation. All these regulations cost the American consumer probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 trillion a year. Those regulations are passed on in the cost of products and services. So if we can reduce regulation, we can reduce prices. And the third thing we're going to try to do is come up with a tax system that looks like somebody designed it on purpose, and renew the tax cuts to try to stimulate the private sector, so that wages will rise and people will be able to afford these higher prices better.